Hi Aces, I'm Angela with Vegas Aces, the world's first free casino dealing trade school. Today we're talking about some cultural nuances that you'll want to understand when interacting with Chinese customers at the casino. If you like what we do here, be sure to like and subscribe, and click that notification button so you never miss out on our videos teaching you how to be a better casino dealer and player. So right now we're celebrating Lunar New Year, and it's a crazy busy time in Las Vegas casinos with all of those guests trying their luck in the Year of the Dragon. Last week we put out a whole video about Lunar New Year and all the amazing stuff that happens in Vegas, so if you haven't seen that yet, check out the link above. Now today is more of an evergreen topic, something you as a dealer should know about all year round. When you're dealing Baccarat or Pai Gow, you'll encounter a majority of Asian players, and especially Chinese players, so you'll want to be aware of cultural differences. You don't want to accidentally upset or offend a player with behavior that we might think is okay, but to them is not. Some traditional customs in gambling might not make sense to people who are not familiar with Chinese culture, but they are common practices amongst Chinese players. Now, understanding important Chinese gambling superstitions, gaming characteristics, and communication styles will help you make a more comfortable experience and higher quality service for your Chinese customers. So, I'm going to go over 20 very important etiquette tips for interacting with Chinese players that will help keep them satisfied, happy, and at your table. Now, if you want to skip to certain tips or refer back at any time, you can click on the chapters listed in the description. Much of our information came from Ching Han's 2011 UNLV dissertation titled Chinese Culture and Casino Customer Service. For a complete list of our sources, check out the links in the description, or you can go to our website, vegas-aces.com, where you can also find the full transcript for this video and all our other videos, plus other resources to make you the best dealer you can possibly be. We also have services for anyone looking to invent a casino game. Just take a look at our services tab. So that's vegas-aces.com, link in the description. Okay, enough of that. Let's jump into these. Tip number 1. Don't be rude about a player's ritualized behaviors. I mean, this is kind of a tip across all cultures, but especially for Chinese gamblers because this is their religion. You don't want to be disrespectful of someone's religion or beliefs. Now, in Western culture, gambling and religion are often believed to be opposed, always in conflict. But the thing is, most of the time, gambling and religion go really well together. There are several factors such as mystery, fate, the unknown, destiny, getting something valuable from mysterious higher powers, and the wish for a better life. These are sacred to many Chinese customers, and you don't want to disrespect that. Tip number 2, don't rudely stop players from squeezing the cards too hard while playing. Now, as dealers, we don't want our players to damage the cards, but Chinese players will often have a tighter grip on their cards, which is stimulated by their culture's views on luck, fate, and destiny. They tend to play for longer and have a higher illusion of control, hence the use of the Baccarat card to predict the next hand. And they like to show off their gambling skills. Well, they'll often practice other behaviors different from ours, like peeling cards slowly, showing other player their cards, and discussing and predicting each other's chances of winning. All of this is totally acceptable and valid. Tip number 3, don't be impatient when they peel cards slowly while gambling. As a casino dealer, being impatient interrupts these rituals, which could bring bad luck to their game. It could also make a player leave, which in turn would lose money for the casino. I know, it is important to keep the pace up when dealing games, but not at the expense of losing customers, and rituals take time. Since the chance of winning can't be physically controlled, many Chinese gamblers look to metaphysical solutions promised by many of their culture's superstitions. For example, many Baccarat players shout out the word ding in Mandarin when peeling cards to stop bad cards from appearing. Or they might also shout out chui or jian in Cantonese to blow away the number they don't want, or to reduce the size of the number. Some say this is likely a result of the Chinese luck tables, comparing predictions and real outcomes to test their skills, and trying to peel cards to change gambling outcomes or get the number they want. Tip number 4, respect their history and culture. Once again, kind of a blanket statement for all people, but there are some beliefs you should know of for this video in particular. For example, one specific taboo is to never speak of anything related to ghosts during the lunar month of July, which is referred to as Ghost Month. Another is never carry a book into the pit. The word for book in Chinese is very similar to lose. One more is never gift anyone a clock, because like carrying a book into the pit, the word for clock, zheng, is too similar to the phrase songzheng, or handling funeral affairs of seniors. It's a very unlucky term for the people still alive. Tip number 5, offer ways to save face when they lose money. Now, the notion of saving face is a long-established practice in Chinese culture. Face is an abstract yet significant concept that affects one's status amongst peers and profoundly impacts interpersonal relationships. It means to preserve one's dignity and honor in situations of embarrassment or humiliation. In Chinese, face, or me'ens, is strongly associated with a person's public image and honor. Now, China has embraced this concept tightly, using it as a self-regulating system to avoid embarrassment and negative repercussions should anyone fail morally. Broken relationships, tarnished reputations, compromised social statuses, and yes, losing at the casino tables. And I really shouldn't say losing either. Here's what I mean. For example, when dealing baccarat, you should never say lose, as in player wins and banker loses. Instead, call the hand so your players can hear the results. When calling the hand, you also want to avoid displaying favoritism for one hand over another. You must remain neutral. Never say win or lose when announcing your hand. Now, every casino is different, but the call I was told to memorize went like this. Player shows, total amount. Banker has, total amount. Action taken. Always announce the winning hand first. Then call the winning number over the losing number. So it'll sound like this. Player shows 4. Banker has 4. Player hits, and it's a 10 card. Banker hits, it's a 5. Banker 9 over 4. Okay, so this is a great way to help your customers save face. You're not announcing that a customer is a loser or has lost. You're stating the outcomes as they are, and the customers can then understand the results. Tip number 6, show understanding of their superstitions. Chinese people tend to be superstitious, and many of these superstitions have existed for thousands of years. Some common superstitions involve colors, numbers, animals, and objects with good or bad luck. And there are lots of superstitions when it comes to gambling. Numbers, specifically, are very important to Chinese customers. For example, baccarat players will fight over seat 8 because 8 is a lucky number. Now, usually seat 4 is missing because that's an unlucky number. But if the casino made a mistake and didn't remove it, players will fight not to sit there. I talk a lot more about lucky numbers in our video on Lunar New Year, so check that out for a more in-depth look at the importance of lucky numbers. Tip number 7, don't touch a player's shoulder while playing. Most Chinese people don't like to be touched, especially by strangers. They generally don't touch strangers unless it's unavoidable, like in a crowd. However, close friends or people of the same gender may stand or sit close to one another or walk arm in arm. And in the casino, they believe someone touching their shoulders or upper body will sap them of their luck. So don't hug them, slap their back, or put an arm around someone's shoulders when you're on the casino floor. Frankly, this is a good rule regardless of someone's cultural background when you're working in a casino. Be respectful of other people's personal space, especially if they're a customer. Tip number 8, show understanding of their ritualized thoughts and behaviors. For Chinese gamblers, washing their hands during a session in the casino can change their luck. So if they're losing, a good hand washing can turn things around, according to this superstition. If a player is winning, they'll avoid washing their hands as the good luck would be washed away. So this means as a dealer, don't call a player out for not washing their hands after using the restrooms. Instead, make sure you wash your hands at every break. Oh, and don't touch your face. Tip number 9, don't decline favors or requests in public. Now, a Chinese person's preoccupation with saving face and politeness means they will seldom give a direct no or a negative response, even when they don't agree with you. So focus on hints of hesitation and read their body language for a better answer. This is heavily tied to tip number 10. Don't be too direct or straightforward. China is a high context communication style culture. What does that mean? Well, it means that they communicate with implicit or subtextual messages where the meaning can only be inferred from the context, and the receiver of the message reads between the lines. Being too direct or straightforward can often be seen as rude or even offensive. Tip number 11, don't show too much emotion or use too many gestures during a conversation. On top of implicit messages, Chinese people rely heavily on indirect communication, meaning posture, tone, and expression. This is to maintain harmony throughout the conversation and prevent a loss of face on either end of the exchange. So there are certain gestures you should also avoid with Chinese guests. Don't point with your index finger. Use an open hand instead. And don't use your index finger to call someone over. Use the hand with fingers motioning downward as in waving. Don't snap your fingers. Don't show the soles of your shoes, so like cross your legs certain ways or put your feet up on the furniture. And don't whistle. Ugh, this one I completely agree with, though I don't personally find it culturally rude, just really annoying. Tip number 12, be polite, modest, and well-mannered. The Chinese have a long and rich culture, and many cultural factors affect their daily lives. When it comes to gambling, the Chinese have their own distinctive characteristics and communication styles. So casino staff who aren't familiar with Chinese customs might struggle with delivering stellar customer service if they don't know common Chinese cultural considerations. One thing to learn today is that Chinese communication has 5 distinct characteristics. The polite style is called kage. Again, forget my pronunciations. Or more specifically, polite, courteous, modest, humble, and well-mannered, which is a great way to communicate with guests, if you ask me. Tip number 13. Don't interrupt the game by offering drinks or other services. Chinese gamblers take their gambling very seriously. They care more about the results than the process. Now, they often won't drink alcohol during games, even if it's free, because they believe it might lead to a loss of control over the game. They usually choose non-alcoholic options like hot tea or water while playing. Tip number 14. Don't look unhappy when players don't tip. This is a tough one, guys. Lots of cultures all over the world don't practice tipping, including the Chinese. Some might not know they're expected to tip the service staff when good service is provided, so don't get upset or mad if they don't tip. Just move on. Tip number 15, be dependable and reliable. This is good, practical common sense for anyone in the customer service industry because that's what dealing is, customer service. You want your players to trust you because their money is in your hands. Now, if you want more customer service tips for dealing, be sure to check out our Patreon, where for as low as $1 a month, you can find exclusive tips about being a casino dealer and early video releases. Link in the description below. Tip number 16, respect your elders. Chinese culture is heavily rooted in a hierarchical system where a core value is showing respect and honoring our parents and elders. The elderly are seen as family, social treasures, and very wise. You want to make sure to address older folks as Mr. or Mrs. out of respect and don't call them by their first names. Be honest and open about what you don't know because pretending to be knowledgeable may offend them. Pay attention and listen carefully to the elderly. It's also very rude to interrupt them when they're speaking, which leads us to tip number 17. Be quiet and a good listener when dealing. Silence is an important and purposeful tool used in Chinese culture. Pausing before giving a response indicates that someone has applied appropriate thought and consideration to that question. It's polite and respectful. Wisdom, authority, and expertise are core values to Chinese customers, so you'll want to pay extra special attention to what they're saying, or not saying. They probably don't want to be bothered by casino employees while gambling. So, if you're a dealer, please respect players who wish for the dealer to be silent and not engage in conversation. This is another important type of Chinese communication too, Qinghua, which refers to a more listening-centered style. To the Chinese, not everyone is entitled to speak. Those who can often have seniority, authority, age, experience, knowledge, and expertise. Casino dealers are considered outsiders, or wairen to Chinese customers, whereas their friends or family are zaijiren, or insiders. They'll often talk a lot to insiders, but rarely speak to the outsiders. So if they don't speak much to you, it's okay. Just be quiet and listen instead. Tip number 18. Establish connections and long-term relationships. Chinese people usually don't like to do business with strangers and will make frequent use of middlemen. Whenever possible, they'll try to use established relationships or an intermediary known by both sides to make that first contact. So if you're already friends or know one another, it eliminates the need for a go-between. And you can remove that middleman with tip number 19. Mix friendship with business. Chinese people like to make friends first, then do business. The reasons vary, as you can imagine, but generally, friends are more prone to listening. They'll give you the best price they can. And if there's a problem, friends will help you out with it. Ultimately, you can simply trust a friend more. And finally, tip number 20, be friendly. Another obvious tip for anyone in customer service. Nice, friendly dealers are going to attract more players than rude ones. So be friendly. All casinos offer the same games, so for casinos to stand out and prosper in a competitive environment, they have to offer an exceptional guest experience. By knowing more about how you can have successful and amazing interactions with your Chinese guests, you're improving not only the casino's bottom line, but your own. Now, many of these tips are applicable to the job in general, like be friendly, be polite, be dependable. It's up to you to ensure your players are happy and having a great time. Thank you to everyone who made it to the end of this very long video. I just know you're all going to be rockstar dealers in no time. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please like and subscribe. Do you want to see our content 5 days early? Subscribe to us on Patreon, where we give our patrons exclusive early access and we coach new dealers on how to get into the industry. Our business also helps casino game inventors with bringing their idea to fruition and onto the casino floor. And if you're looking for even more content, check out our other videos here on the screen. We also offer interview transcripts, flashcards, dealer instruction manuals, the world's first tote board, and so much more on our website, vegas-aces.com. You can find all of these links down below in the description. Until next time, stay lucky, aces.